Listening friend, perhaps you are wondering what to do if adultery can be committed with just a glance. Should we isolate ourselves from the world or close our eyes, ears, and heart? Some question why carry out lustful thoughts if they are considered sinful. This passage represents one of Jesus' most radical calls to moral purity, warning us about the temptation to follow our sinful desires, something that is encouraged in today's society without restrictions or consideration of the consequences. Today, we will explore the pages of the Bible to analyze the abominable sin of lust, which few know and many Christians still practice. But we will also provide guidelines to avoid falling into it. On our channel, we strive to offer healthy teaching based on the Word of God. Let's start. Billy Graham once said that taking a first look at a woman is inevitable. However, if after that look you look at it 10 more times, there is a problem with you. If this becomes your lifestyle, you have fallen into lust. There are individuals who are enslaved by this sin who, upon seeing an attractive woman, whether in person, in a magazine, or in any other medium, awaken their carnal desires. On one occasion during a pastoral counseling session, a young woman confessed to me that her mind was filled with lust to the point of imagining perverse things when seeing other young people. Dear brothers, it is crucial to keep in mind that there are people who do not know these truths and are deeply immersed in the sin. Let us remember that God knows our thoughts and there is nothing we can hide from Him. It is essential to strive daily to achieve perfection in holiness, and this teaching will be of great help on that path. In Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 and 28, they talk about this topic. Let's read the biblical story. You have heard that it was said, "You shall not commit adultery." But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. It is important to note that the issue of adultery is not something new for the Jewish audience, especially for religious leaders, since it is clearly established in the law. However, the scribes and Pharisees had their own interpretation of the passage in Exodus chapter 20, verse 14, which prohibits committing adultery, which is part of the 10 Commandments. According to the scribes, the sin of adultery was committed on the spot, not beforehand. God's demands are much higher than those presented by the scribes and Pharisees. The difference between what Moses' commandments imply and the literal and legalistic interpretation of the scribes is highlighted. This leads us to understand that both ordinary Jews and religious leaders had their hearts filled with lust without considering it a sin due to their lack of knowledge of the Word of God. That is why it is recorded in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you as my priests. Because you have ignored the law of your God, I also will ignore your children. Dear brother, legalism focuses only on the external as its main focus, but forgets the source from which everything flows, the heart. It is necessary to clean the internal first so that the external changes later. The idea of adultery can be summarized in that it is a criminal association in which a married person joins someone who is not his legal spouse, which is more serious than the act of fornication, which involves the union between unmarried people. This type of union is considered the most serious sin of its kind, surpassing all other carnal sins. Let's now look at what Jesus said on this topic. Let's analyze the biblical passage. According to the text, Jesus gave the true interpretation of what adultery is and where it begins. Feminine beauty is a gift from the Creator, from whom all true beauty comes. The clean appreciation of that beauty is correct. Furthermore, the attraction that each sex has for the other was implanted in men and women by the Creator, and when manifested within the limits ordained by God, it is intrinsically good. But when He perverts it to serve impious and selfish interests, it becomes one of the greatest destructive forces in the world. The point of looking at a woman is to lust after her. In Greek, this is called epitumio, which translates as longing or intensely desiring. This word is used in both a positive and negative context. Dear listener, sin begins in the mind, and if we allow it, it becomes action. The desire to commit adultery in the heart is the first step towards physical infidelity. When someone lusts after a woman, he is also capable of committing adultery in a moment of temptation without fear of being discovered. Therefore, adultery is not a sudden act, but a process that begins in the heart, is fueled by desire, and is finally carried out. Jesus' teaching focuses on the thoughts and desires of the heart, which are the source of sin. Many sins have their origin in the heart. For example, the act of killing, anger, and abusive words are two main causes of homicide. Let's read Matthew chapter 15, verse 19. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, slander. A clear example of lust is found in King David. Let's read in the second book of Samuel, chapter 11, verses 2-4. One evening David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "She is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. Now she was purifying herself from her monthly uncleanness. Then she went back home. At this point, we can reflect on how David looked at Bathsheba with desire and committed adultery in his heart, which led him to send for her and commit the act of adultery. Lust was so powerful that he didn't care if Bathsheba had a husband. Even violating God's law, lust blinded his understanding as a man. In James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15 it says, "But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death." So we ask, in what way does Satan incite men to desire women? First, because of the association with unwise women. Because they are associated with one or several women every day at work or in other activities every day, many brothers spend fewer hours with their wives than with other women. Likewise, many sisters who work outside the home are associated more time with other men than with their own husbands. This is because of work and other legitimate activities. But it is a very dangerous trap into which a large number of brothers continue to fall, including many preachers. For this purpose, it is convenient for the preacher to take his wife with him to give Bible studies to women. Second, perhaps the biggest danger in modern times is social media. It is a powerful means of communicating thoughts. If you don't know how to use them, it will feed your lustful thoughts. The mind is constantly bombarded with indecent films that nourish and stimulate the baser desires, passions, and impulses. Third, it is unfortunate that many women dress in a provocative and dishonest manner, wearing clothing such as shorts, mini-skirts, tight-fitting clothing, transparent clothing, skirts with excessive openings, dresses and blouses that reveal the shoulders and part of the chest, among others. It is essential that Christian women dress modestly and respectfully, avoiding clothing that may incite temptation and thus promoting the moral values expected of them. Another way Satan tempts is when a couple fails to fulfill their marital duties. This has caused a lot of damage, as a partner's rejection can lead to lust and, in some cases, adultery. Let's analyze what actions we can take to avoid it. Let's take into account what it says in Matthew chapter 5, verses 29 and 30. "If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell." 30, "And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell." Of course, these words of Jesus should not be taken with crude literalism. What they mean is that we must uproot from life without sentimentality anything that serves to seduce us into sin. If we have a habit that could be an incitement to evil, a relationship that could lead us astray, or a pleasure that could end up ruining our physical or moral health, we have to surgically remove it from our lives. Christ, the authentic teacher, does not teach us to flee from people nor to move from place to place, but rather to have self-control and reject the offending eye or hand. That is, get rid of the cause of sin, the evil appetite and lust that comes from your own heart. Once free from this, it is easy to remain in human society and enjoy joy, company without sinning. And so we come to the end of this video. We thank you for having accompanied us, and we ask you to help us by praying for this ministry so that the Lord guides us. A big hug for everyone, and it will be with me until the next video.